haul some books. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and this is the Astro Library. Now we are in a bit of a different location because it is 6:30 when I'm filming this, which means it is pitch black here in California because daylight saving times means all my natural daylight is gone. And today's been kind of crazy. So I'm just getting to film this. So we're in my room where I have bright lighting, you can see me, and we can really see the star of the show today, which is, as you can tell by the title, a book haul. So this will be my final book haul for the year and the only book haul I posted on this channel, with a kind of like caveat or claimer, because a problem with booktube is this like over consumerism with books and having to buy a lot of books. And while I have a lot of books to show you today, I want to emphasize that I buy books throughout the whole year. So I'm not necessarily buying all these books at once, nor am I buying them new. Oftentimes I'm buying used books and I kind of just store them up a while to have a big haul for you guys to kind of see what I've gathered throughout the year. I tend not to buy books in November because Christmas comes up and in January is my birthday. Both times where I tend to not buy books for myself, and particularly in December I cut myself off from buying any book that potentially people could have bought for me. So it's the time of year where I'm not buying books anymore, so this would be my official last haul of books until 2024. So I thought it'd be really fun to kind of give you a look at what I got this year. We're gonna go ahead and dive right in. As you can kind of tell from that earlier clip that there's quite a few books. So I have a stack in front of me and then I have a stack in this bag you can kind of see right there. So there's a few books and a variety of books. We're just gonna go ahead and start with this first stack right here. And the very first book I have it is Elizza Lamura by Scott Lynch. Now this is a beloved fantasy series that actually I think MTV or Sci-Fi, one of the two, had made a TV show and was really popular for a few seasons. But I didn't quite like the show, so I was really unsure if I was going to like the book. And I saw this at a used bookstore that I always go to, and I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and pick up this book because everyone raves about how good this series is, and particularly how if you don't want to read a whole series, that this book can act as a standalone. So I'm very interested in that. I didn't understand what the show was, so I'm not quite sure what this book is going to be about, but let's go ahead and take a look at the back of the book, see if we can get an idea. An orphan's life is harsh and often short in the mysterious island of Camor, but young Lamora dodges death and slavery, becoming a thief under the tutelage of a gifted con artist. As leader of the band of light-fingered brothers known as the Gentleman Bastards, Locke is soon infamous, fooling even the underworld's most feared ruler. But in the shadow lurks someone still more ambitious and deadly. Faced with a bloody coup that threatens to destroy everyone and everything that holds meaning in his mercenary life, Locke vows to beat the enemy at his own brutal game, or die trying. Okay, that sounds a lot more interesting than what I had in my mind about this book, because the show was this like big fantasy world with magic involved, and I could not really get a grasp of like what the story was, and the acting was kind of low-key terrible. I felt myself drifting away, but that plot sounds really interesting. So we're following this kind of miscreant, more or less, who is trying to undertake this like big figure in the underworld. So that sounds a lot interesting, and I know it is still fantasy based, so I think it'll be really interesting to see how like magic and just fantastical elements blend with this kind of like this coup plot. So that does sound a lot more interesting. So I'm actually really glad I picked this up, and this is just like a really nice mass market size. Like normally these books like suck because they're just so stiff and hard to hold, but like this one's got some like really good flop to it. So this was a very beloved used book. The second book I bought is also a beloved fantasy series, and that is Kushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Kyne. So just like with Elizza Lamura, I'm going to read the back to kind of give us all a more clear idea of what this book is about. So the land of Terang is a place of unsurpassing beauty and grace. It is said that the angels found the land and saw it was good, and the ensuing race that rose from the seed of angels and men lived by one simple rule: love as thou wilt. Deirdre no Illuminae is a young woman who is born with a scarlet mote in her left eye. Sold into indentured servitude as a child, her bond is purchased by Anaphila de Illuminae, a nobleman with a very special mission and the first one to recognize who and what she is. One pricked by Kushiel's dart, chosen to forever experience pain and pleasure as one. Deirdre is trained equally in the courtly arts and the talents of the bedchamber, but above all, the ability to observe, remember, and analyze. Almost as talented as a spy as she is courtesan, Deirdre stumbles upon the plot that threatens the very foundation of her homeland. Treachery sets her on her path, love and honor goad her further, and in doing it, it will take her to the edge of despair and beyond. Hateful friends friend, loving enemy, beloved assassin. They can all wear the same glittering mask in this world, and Phaedra will get but one chance to save all that she holds dear. Set in a world of cunning poets, deadly courtiers, heroic traitors, and a truly Machiavellian villainess, this is a novel of grandeur, luxuriance, sacrifice, and betrayal, and deeply laid conspiracies. Not since Dune has there been an epic on the scale of Kushiel's dart, a massive tale about the violent death of an old age and the birth of a new. I did remember this kind of being marketed as not quite BDSM, but like towing the line to BDSM because of that like experience between pain and pleasure being one for our main character. But I did forget about the spy and assassin element going on with our main character, Phaedra. It does sound really interesting, and the reason why I picked it up is because this was talked about as a really big staple for fantasy romance, and as one of the books that kind of really helped get people into the genre. And I believe it's only a couple books long, so, and it's massive. Like this is a 912 page book, which is insane. I'm actually really interested in seeing how this book is going to develop, because not only it seems like we have a really interesting plot to follow, but that there's gonna be a lot of world building in this, particularly if they're comparing to something like Dune, which is like known for its like huge and wide, vast world. But yeah, I'm really interested in reading a kind of classic of a sort, so I'm very excited to get to read something that's kind of like important to that history. So the next book I picked up is actually a recommendation I got from a friend, and that is Furies of Calderon by Jim Butcher. Now, I had told the person who we were like exchanging books. I'd recommended him a book, he recommended me a book, and I said, okay, I don't want anything that's like super long because I have all these other things I need to read in school. I just don't need anything really long. He's like, cool, no, I got you. And then he chooses this book. So I don't know what your definition of long is. My definition of long is definitely under 675 pages. So even though it's not quite the shorter book I was after, it will be the first Jim Butcher book I will have ever read. And they had talked that this story reads really quickly, and it was a great introduction to Jim Butcher that wasn't his Dresden Files series. Jim Butcher as an author is like a huge name in fantasy, and that everyone raves about the Dresden Files. And those are some like thick books as well, and some like high fantasy works that I just have always been intimidated by, and just like hit Jim Butcher's name in general. So I think this kind of standalone, or what I think is a standalone, would be a better introduction, because yes, even though it's probably as thick as the Dresden Files, it means I won't have to like continue a whole series of it, and it just gives me a chance to dip my toes into him. Okay, up next we have a book that I pre-ordered, and I'm so happy it was in my hands, and that is Ravensong by TJ Klune. Just look at this book. It is so freaking pretty. So Ravensong is the second book in the Green Creek series. The first book being Wolf Song, which I have in a special edition, and it's one of my favorite series that TJ Klune has written. So this series follows a family of werewolves, and each book we focus on a different member of their family and kind of their romantic interests. So in book one, we are focusing on Ox and how he kind of he meets this werewolf family and becomes more involved in them and gets introduced to the supernatural world and eventually falls in love with his mate. In this book, we are following Gordon, who is technically not part of the werewolf family himself, but he is the warlock or witch that helps out that family. So in this book, we're following his kind of tragic romance with Mark Bennett, who is part of the werewolf family. Every book in this series breaks my heart. Really and truly, I was sobbing while reading this book. And in this book, since we have a second chance romance between Gordo and Mark, that it's so heartbreaking because we see them young and in love, but we know something goes wrong, and we get to watch them come back together while all this other drama is going on. And it's if you ever need like a therapeutic cry, like read any TJ Klune book, but like specifically read the Green Creek series. I'm so happy that they're being traditionally published by Tor, because these were originally self-published and they were kind of hard to get a hold of. So I have the ebook versions, but just to see them in these pretty gorgeous covers has been amazing, and I cannot wait for Heart Song to come out, I believe in February of next year. So I'm very excited to have them all on my shelves eventually. Now after that, I actually have an eBay purchase because I really wanted to read this book, but I really liked the Fairy Loot version of it, and that is Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawnson, which is just a stunning, like, look at these printed edge and this like bright yellow with a pink cover. But more than that, when you take off the dust jacket, it just has this stunning, vibrant pink hardback with this printed goat on the cover. And I was obsessed with the way this book looked. And so I absolutely had to have it for myself. I'll overlay the original cover on screen right here, but it doesn't hit the same way. I had to have it in my hands because it sounded super interesting, but I wanted it so bad in this. And then I found it on eBay for a relatively inexpensive price. I think I maybe paid $30-something for this, and I'm so happy that I have it. It does mean I have to get my hands on the sequel that is in a similar style like this, which is going to be fun. I will eventually get my hands on it, and it'll be okay. It'll be great. I think Fairy Loot's actually selling it on the website. I might have to go do a purchase after this. But what I understand of this book is that we are following a group of women who used to be in a coven together, and it's several years after they've all kind of gone their own separate ways, but something is kind of come back and is either hunting them down or threatening to harm these former members, and that they must come together to protect themselves against an enemy. I have a feeling we're going to be dipping from past to present in this book, where we're going to be seeing them interacting maybe as a group and kind of figuring out what has led them to drift apart, as they say. It's probably a lot more complex than we think, but I definitely think a kind of modern magic is something that's going to be right up my alley, because a lot of times I read like high fantasy, which just like sets me in a new world that I have to learn all the mechanics of. So getting to read a book that is set in our world and kind of see familiar things will kind of take some of that load off, and I can just enjoy the magic system and kind of the characters. Okay, the next book I got was another eBay find, and this one, oh my god. I have a funny story for this one, and that is Praying for Mercy by Patricia Briggs. This is a bind-up of the first 3 books in the Mercy Thompson series, which is a series I've talked about ad nauseum on this channel. But the funny story that came with this book. So I had talked about how the first 3 books I only have in paper, or like mass market paperbacks, like the really tiny ones, like this one. They suck because they're so stiff and they're so small, and the text is so tiny that they're really just like hard to hold, and I hate them. But you cannot find the first 3 books in hardback to save your life. It's impossible, really and truly, without spending like hundreds of dollars because they're out of print, which is really annoying because those are the only 3 I needed to have the whole series in hardback form. I was just thinking I was gonna be shit out of luck until I found out that this bind up Praying for Mercy existed that would give me all 3 of the first books in a hardback format. And so I found a listing for like $30, and I was so excited because it was a bidding. So I thought, okay, you know what? Let me go ahead and just throw a bid in and see if I get it. I had like maybe 2 days left on it. So I put in a bid for maybe $5 extra than what they were asking. Just, to incentivize, like, I really do want this. So I'm sitting and I wait and I kind of forget about it until I get a notification like, oh, it's the last day for the bid. It's almost up. And so now I'm really excited that I'm going to get this book because otherwise it's really hard to find. And sometimes it's like listed for like $80-something. So I really wanted this edition because I was rereading the Mercy Thompson series and I would just love to have this. So when I do eventually go back and do another reread, I will not have to read and deal with mass market paperbacks. And so I'm getting really excited because it's like taking down an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and then it gets to like the last couple of minutes. And I just have it sitting on my phone just to make sure if anything happens, anyone tries to outbid me, whatever. Well, in the last 15 seconds, someone swoops in and bids me over by $1, and I lose the book. And I was pissed, as one would be. 15 seconds, lose the one book you were just excited about getting. Jump forward a couple weeks. I'm on thriftbooks.com, and I was like, let me look to see if they have any of these listed, because sometimes they do, and sometimes they're a reasonable price. Well, I find this book listed for like $30, and I said, I'm buying that. And so I put the purchase in. It was in good condition, which is not the best condition, but whatever. And I bought it and it came and I have it. And it's not like it's a pretty book. It's kind of old and beat up. Pages are all yellowed, but I finally have a hard copy version of these first 3 books. I finally got my hands on it and I'm so excited that I never have to read those stupid mass market paperbacks again. I can just read this, which is a lot more comfortable because it's very worn in. It's honestly not that big of a book for being a combination of all 3 books, and it just kind of just looks like a normal like standard length fantasy book. And the last book I have in my like stack is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I think is how you say it. I'm not quite sure, and I apologize for mispronouncing. But as you can kind of see, I started reading this book and I was tabbing because I was actually using this book to help tutor a student, and we were kind of like going through this book together and really finding moments to stop and really read in depth. I don't know if it's an autobiography or a memoir. I think it's a kind of a combination of both because she is focusing on the moment where she was shot by the Taliban and kind of the aftermath of that event, but she focuses on a lot of her life before and after that event, so it's kind of a weird mixture between the two. And this book was everywhere when it came out. I remember being, I believe, in high school when Malala was shot and just made the news, became this like worldwide known figure. But I had never actually read this book. And so when the student I tutor was having to read it for school, I thought it was a great opportunity. And it was really interesting to learn about not only just her family, but the community she grew up in. What led her to have this belief about education for women and why she takes such a strong stance and how that is a byproduct of how she was raised by her father, who firmly believed in everyone having an education. And so this was a really good read. I did not quite finish it. What I did read of it, I really enjoyed. And I think I will eventually come back and finish having and annotating and reading. Okay, we are halfway done. So that was the stack of books. Now to go on to my kind of haul from Book Off, which I had to purchase this lovely tote for 30 cents because I may have gone a little overboard, but it's fine. This is the last book haul of the year. I don't have to feel guilty. First, I have Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. So this is a book that has been really popular on Book Talk and here on BookTube. That's like this fantasy series. And I've heard it like described as a really fantastical world with a unique magic system. But other than that, I really can't get like a read on like what this book is about, other than everyone who's read it has said they really liked it. And these covers are absolutely stunning. I love the artwork. I love the pastel blue. When I saw this at my used bookstore, I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and pick it up and see what all the hype is. And if I enjoyed the rest of the series, I can go and purchase the hardback, which is my preferred format. I think I bought this for like $5 or maybe like $5.50, which is a steal. Because honestly, books are getting expensive these days. And so finding a really popular book in almost mint condition, like there's nothing wrong with this book. The pages aren't that yellow, the spine's perfectly intact. It's been conditioned, so it's really floppy and readable. This was a great steal for $5.50. But let's go ahead and read the back so we can hopefully get a better idea of like what this book is actually about. Celia possesses two special gifts: a talent for seeing into an object's past and the ability to travel through mirrors. Her peaceful existence on Amina is interrupted when she is promised in marriage to the Taciturn Thorn, a member of a powerful clan from a cold and distant arc. A pawn in a dangerous game that will have far-reaching consequences for her entire world, Ophelia must navigate the lies and machinations of her fiance's clan in order to survive in this first installment of the internationally best-selling Mirror Visitor series. Okay, this is an international book. I did not know that. So that's a lot more interesting. So it seems that we're following this girl who not only can see into the past and that she's able to travel through mirrors, which all I can think of is from One Piece in the Whole Cake arc. If you know, you know. No, that sounds really interesting. I think that would be a really interesting power to read about, because not only do we get to kind of like think of like all the things you've ever owned in your life and the memories attached to them, and being able to kind of look into that will be really interesting, and to travel through mirrors, which seems going to be a big aspect if the whole series is titled The Mirror Visitor. And we have maybe an enemies to lovers romance, or possibly we have another love affair going on, which can be very fun. But this is more intriguing than I thought it was going to be, and I'm interested to see if this is going to live up to the hype that everyone kind of holds it to. Okay, next in this bag of goodies, okay, don't judge me, but I found a hard copy of the Luminate Files, which are hard to kind of get a hold of, at least if you don't want to like purchase them new. But it was just so pretty. Like it has this like transparent cover, and like the hardback itself is like this, like kind of like the Illuminate Files itself, where we have redacted sentences, we have notes being in the middle of it. So when I saw this, I kind of just really wanted it, especially because I really like the transparent cover kind of like highlights parts of the text. And I really like the Luminate Files. I've read the first two books and I loved both of them. So I think eventually they're going to be a real favorite series of mine, and I will want to eventually collect them in hardback. And when I have books like that where I already own a version of them, I will wait till I find the hardbacks in a either used bookstore or for cheap online, and I will only collect collect them that way just so I'm not spending a lot of money, and then I'll eventually donate the paperbacks to another used bookstore for someone else to enjoy or to a local library. So yeah, this is kind of just the first step in that process because I love this series so much, and I think these hardbacks are just so pretty, and I'm a hardback lover. I will choose a hardback over a paperback any day of my life. They just fit better in my hands and they sit better on my shelves. So next in this bag of goodies, I have a series, and that series would be the Witchland series by Sue Dennard. So I have, I think these are in order: Windwitch, Truthwitch, and Bloodwitch. Now, you may be asking, Emily, have you read this series before? Do you know what it's about? You bought 3 books in it. No, I do not know what this series is about. Not at all. Not even remotely. But I do know it is a beloved series, a YA fantasy series that I've actually been hearing a lot of recently. We were just people like recommending like that was like their YA series growing up. And so I thought, you know what? Seeing these all for cheap and in really good condition hardbacks, why not get the first 3 books? It's only a 4-book series. So if I do end up loving this first book, Windwitch, I have the next 2 books in it. And then I only have to buy the first book for more than I bought all 3 books together, honestly. So I think that's just like a great steal. And I'm really interested in seeing if I love this. I always really, really love reading series and books that got other people into reading, and particularly that got people into certain genres. So getting to read like a beloved series, kind of always fun. But let's go ahead and read what this series is about, particularly what this first book is about. Is this the first book? I looked this up and it said the first book. Oh, no. That's a lie. This is the second book. The first book is Truthwitch. Okay, the tagline for the actual first book is: on a continent ruled by 3 empires, some are born with a witchery, a magical skill that sets them apart from others. In the Witchlands, there are almost as many types of magic as there are ways to get in trouble, as 2 desperate young women know all too well. Sophia is a Truthwitch, able to discern truth from lie. It's a powerful magic that many would kill to have on their side, especially among the nobility to which Safi was born. So Safi must keep her gift hidden, lest she be used as a pawn in the struggle between empires. Iseult, a thread witch, can see the invisible ties that bind and entangle the lives around her, but she cannot see the bonds that touch her own heart. Her unlikely friendship with Safi has taken her from life as an outcast to one of reckless adventure, where she is a cool, wary balance to Sophia's hot-headed impulsiveness. Sophia and Iseult just want to be free to live their own lives, but war is coming to the Witchland. With the help of a cunning Prince Merrick, a witchwind, and a ship's captain, and the hindrance of a Bloodwitch bent on revenge, the friends must fight emperors, princes, and mercenaries alike who will stop at nothing to get their hands on a Truthwitch. So it seems that in these first 3 books, we're going to be following kind of different members of this kind of crew as they're all trying to help out our main character Safi here, who is a Truthwitch and someone who is like coveted by all sides for the ability to tell lies from truth. So this is a little bit longer. This is 415 pages, which is honestly still not that long in terms of a fantasy, but it does seem that all these books are kind of interconnected with each other, and it sounds like the events of this book are occurring at the same time as the events of Windwitch. And it's also blurred by Sarah J. Maas, so always a plus in my book. I enjoy her storytelling. Blurbs usually like have similar vibes with each other, so I'm interested in seeing what vibe this is gonna fall for. Is it gonna be more of like a Court of Thorns and Roses vibe, a Throne of Glass vibe? We'll have to see. So there's only 2 books left, and the next book is a book. It is a book, and that is Cravings by Chrissy Teigen. So this is a cookbook, and I was at this bookstore with my friend Marcy, who lives in Ohio, and she was down visiting, and Marcy is like an amazing cook who loves to cook, and I hate to cook, and I was telling her this, and so she recommended this cookbook because she found it and its sequel, and she said this is her favorite cookbook and that the recipes in it were so good and just like so easy to make, and so she's like, you have to get it. And so I did, because not only is Chrissy Teigen like the sweetest human being ever and just so fucking funny, but the like look at this recipe on the back, like that looks delicious. They seem to just kind of be easy and like a wide variety of different types. We got these really cute and funny photos of her and her husband John Legend, if you didn't know. But yeah, it looks good, and I hate cooking, so finding something that is filled with like good recipes and like good food that aren't hard will just be something to hopefully make cooking a little less painful. Now for the last thing I have in this bag. This is the thing I was most excited about in this store. And that is, I found the deluxe bind up of Saga, which, oh my god. I read the first volume from my local library and absolutely adored it and was so excited and wanted to read and continue it more. But because I read graphic novels so quickly, I find binding like even the bigger bind ups of like 2 or 3 volumes, I still go through too quickly and I just don't have the room to like collect that many. So I wanted specifically to get these deluxe editions that bind up a lot more of those like mini bind ups and just honestly look better. Like, this is a hardback book. The art and the page quality is just like gorgeous. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I wanted to read more of it. And I wanted to collect this version specifically. But these can get really expensive, like going upwards of like $40, $50. And I found this for an absolute steal at the bookstore and in great condition. Like there's no damage on the spine. There's no damage to like the binding itself. There's no like dings in the corners. It was just in really, really good condition. And for such a great price, I had to pick it up for myself. And I'm so happy to have it because I'm so excited to read more of this series and to just have them to display and to read and to hold in my hands. And so I was so excited. I saw it. I told her, I don't care how much that book is. I need to have it. And it was $25. What a steal. So if you don't know, Saga is kind of a Romeo and Juliet retelling in space where we're following Alana and Marco, who are members from 2 planets, or rather a planet and its like moon, that are at war with each other. And they've been at war with each other for years and years. They were both soldiers who fell in love and decided to run away and have a baby between them, which was something that had never been done before. And most people didn't think were possible. And so because of this child, they have become hunted targets in which they are both militaries and powers are trying to hunt them down and not only execute them, but their child. So this series follows them as they're running throughout space trying to hide from both Marco's planet and Alana's planet that wants to see both of them dead, and kind of the people they meet along the way in their journey as our kind of narrator and main focus, their child, is recounting their lives and kind of what had happened. So like I said, I've only read the first volume and I absolutely adored it. I think I actually called Alana my book crush, or like my new favorite character in the series, because she's just such a badass and I love the way she talks and just like her personality. But one thing I really enjoy is the relationship between Alana and Marco, who are just both really sweet and snarky with each other, and you could tell just like hold a lot of love for not only each other but for their daughter. And I just fell in love with the art, which is super gorgeous, but I fell in love with the characters and the stories, and I think this is going to be an all-time favorite series for me. That wraps up this ginormous book haul. I don't even know how many books that is. Actually, let's go ahead and count. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh god. Oh god. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hold this. We're gonna try. Oh god. So, this is very precarious. Oh, I can't hold this and be in frame. So we're gonna set this, we're gonna set this in my lap like this. So yeah, this is my 14 book haul. But this is the last book haul of the year and all the books I will have gotten by the end of 2024. You know, that's a lie. I will get another set of books in Christmas, but I will probably put that in my birthday haul, because every January on my birthday, I treat myself to one excursion where I go out and buy books as just like my treat to myself. So that's what I will be doing. So be on the lookout for that book haul, because it's always a really fun one where I just kind of go absolutely crazy. That is it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know what your thoughts are. If I should be reading one immediately, or if there's something that sounded really interested to you that you are maybe interested in reading. Or if you don't have anything to say but want to let me know that you were here, go ahead and leave me a black heart emoji in memory of my wallet that is unhappy with me for all the money I spend on books. But if you like this video and want to see more content like this, or just want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out and lets me know that you want to see more content like this. Let me know if you want to see more book hauls, because I'm always willing to buy books. Like, I have a problem. It's okay. But I upload a video every week, so consider sticking around and seeing what other craziness I get into, and maybe joining me as I read some of these very, very large stack of books, which I'm going to set down over here. But that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!